What's up, guys? It's cold outside, and I found some cheap chicken. That means I get to show you how I make some smoked chicken stock and how I meal prep smoked chicken for soups, salads, ramen, whatever you want to use it for. Let's get it. To start off with, while I have a clean surface, we're going to make what's called a mirepoix. Basically, that's just your celery, carrots, onions, a little bit of garlic. Start your soup base. You do it for stock, soup, pretty much anything you're making in that realm. Because we're just making a stock, all we have to do is make sure the vegetables are clean, cut off the root ends, then roughly chop them, throw them skins and all right into the bin. If we were going to be eating it like soup, then you'd want to peel it and everything else that you'd normally do. But all we're doing is using these for flavor, not to eat. Use about 3 garlic cloves. About yay big. Don't need to be picky about it. That's that. Next, I'm just going to break the chicken down off the bone. Don't have to be too careful about it. Like I said, I'm just going to be smoking that meat and chopping it up for meal prep. And any meat that's left there on the bones and everything, that'll just add more flavor to the stock. Anyways, always start with a sharp knife, makes the work easier. I'm going to make a couple lateral cuts. One of them is going to be along the bottom of the chicken leg. That's going to get rid of any of the tendons on the bottom. I'm going to just angle the cut down along the top a couple times and just kind of cut off everything that I can get to easily. Like I said, everything's going on the smoker, but I don't want a bunch of tendons and stuff like that in the meat once I chop it up. It leaves chewy taste and all that fun stuff, so don't need all that. We're just going to go along the bottom here. You're going to cut all the way to the bone. It's a good thing to keep the knife sharpener handy. So anyway, this is actually how you would make a lollipop if you were trying to make lollipop drumsticks on the barbecue or something like that. You just pull this whole bottom part off. Leave that exposed bone there. And this is the part you'd cook. Anyway, that gets rid of all those tendons there on the bottom. Then up here at the top, honestly, I might just go straight down the bone. Cut off the tendon there. And now I just have, essentially, I guess a little fillet of the leg meat. You just kind of pull this off here. And just kind of look at what you're doing. Cut away the tendons. Cut around it a little bit. And now you've got a couple nice little chunks of meat to smoke, so you can chop it up. Like I said, this isn't pretty. And then what's left is pretty much just the leg bone with the tendons and stuff on there. And I'm just going to chop that. If you look there, I don't know if I can get close enough with the camera, all that bone marrow is sticking out right in the middle of those bones. That'll release into the stock and make it a lot more hearty, a lot better taste, and also give it a little bit thickness. Because something, I don't know, that's how bone marrow works. So I'm just going to do that to the rest of these. I got a bunch of packages to go through. Then we're going to take these, spread them out, and throw them on the smoker. So give me a minute to get these all prepped. Alright, I'm not going to lie, that took a little bit longer than I thought it would. Something I realized while I was cutting that stuff up that I didn't mention before was, for the meat itself, make sure you spread it out and actually look for the tendons in there, because they do have a tendency to stick where they're supposed to be. So just make sure you spread it out, pull anything out that you can find left over after you stripped it off the bone. Next up, I'm going to spread these out, get them seasoned, and then throw them on the smoker. Dude, I wasn't kidding. It's actually pretty cold out here. Anyway, the easiest way to do that is to just grab some construction paper, something like that, and cover your work surface with. That way it's easier to clean up all the seasonings and spices after you've spread them all around. Also, get yourself a couple of heat-safe cookie trays, something that's not coated with non-stick type of thing, so you can go in a smoker or a grill and not get all that crap on there. Anyway, I'm just going to spread the chicken and the bones out on these, and then hit them with some of the seasoning blends. For the seasonings, we're going to go ahead and use some cracked black pepper, some rosemary, some salt, and a little bit of what is called wood-fired hickory. It comes from Kroger's, which is just a local grocery store that we have. It has a nice smoke flavoring to it. I'm going to hit everything with all of that. You don't want to do too much rosemary. And yeah, I like using a lot of different rubs and seasonings and everything. But with this in specific, I'm trying to just come up with a very basic, generic flavor so that whenever we make a meal with these, we can use whatever other seasonings we want that won't contradict with what we already have on here. So this is just giving it a little bit of flavor, and I'm not going to worry too much about it. Super basic. Alright, this is where we go different with the different types of meats. I'm going to go ahead and take the meat that we're actually going to eat. I'm going to throw that on at about 180 degrees, and I'm going to let that go low and slow for a couple of hours, and then I'm going to bump it up real quick just to finish it off cooking. For the actual bones that I'm trying to get some real smoke flavor out of because it's got to infuse into that stock, I'm going to let that thing sit for like 5 hours in there as low as possible. The meat on the bones and everything, they're going to get thoroughly cooked, but they're going to get a lot more smoke flavor on them than I need to do with these things. That's what we're going to do. I can already tell you it's super dark out there. I already tried taking a little bit of footage, but just know that I have a Traeger. It's a standard one. I've got it set at 180. I'm going to do these for a couple hours at that point, or until they get thoroughly cooked, and then bump it up just a little bit to get them a little bit crispy. And then with these, I'm just going to go low and slow the whole time. They don't even have to be fully cooked. Because like I said, they're going to go in the stock. We're not going to eat any of it, and it's going to get cooked in the stock anyway. So that's the plan. It is the next day. Truth be told, that went a little later into the night than I meant it to, and by the time I pulled everything off the smoker, it was too late to actually cook the stock. So we're going to go ahead and get that done today. You can tell a difference in the color between the meat that I smoked for a couple hours and the bones that I left on there for about 5 hours. All we're going to do now, if I can get this darn glove on, we're going to take all these bones and we're going to put them in a stock pot. All I did was just throw these in the fridge overnight. So we're just going to take all the bones. I got a little bit of warm water in here to get it started. We're just going to throw these in here. I'm going to take these inside and get it started cooking. Now I'm going to bring it up to a pretty quick boil because we want to skim a little bit of that scum that'll come to the top before we add our vegetables into it. Man, some of these kind of blew themselves to the tray there. Anyway, I'm going in about 2 parts water to 1 part chicken to start, and then when I add the vegetables, I'll just keep topping off the water until I have as much as I want. But this will get us started. I've got the stock in there going in about a medium to medium-high heat. Give me a little bit of time to get through all this chicken prep. Basically, the whole point of doing this is to make these in small packages, everything pre-chopped and pre-cooked, so that all you have to do is cut a little slit in it, throw it in the microwave to heat it up, throw the whole thing straight into chicken soup with minimal effort, throw it in the fridge, let it thaw out for a day, and then throw it straight on top of a salad without having to do any work at that point. To do that, I'm just going to look for the grain, well, the muscle grain on the chicken, and just find out which way it's running. Now I'm just going to do little 1/4 inch strips strips about a 1/4 inch thick all the way across. And then I'm going to come through and rough chop that so that everything's about bite size. Like I said, you could just go in and throw it straight into chicken soup or anything without having to do any prep work at that time. Like I said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be super pretty. So something like that. And I'm just going to go through all these pieces. Just give it a quick look, come across, some thin, some thick. You know, give it a little bit of variation. Okay, I came in to check the stock and we are right where we need to be. So if you look around the edges here, you can see some of that foamy scum. We're going to take a ladle or a small sieve, anything you've got. We're just going to kind of come along the top here and try to get rid of that. That adds the cloudiness. It's a little bit of a bitter flavor. We're just going to come around, get these little pockets of it, do our best. We just want to get rid of all that foam. And I'm going to do this over the next 15, 20, 30 minutes. And this could just go straight in the garbage, straight in the sink, whatever. But basically, the more that you get out, the clearer the stock's going to be and the less bitter it'll be. After a little bit, I'll come in and dump the rest of the vegetables in here. Then just keep adding water. When I put the vegetables in, I'm going to bring it down to just a simmer. The only reason we're boiling it is to get all this foam to come to the top. Alright, while we're simmering those bones and skimming the foam off of them over the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to show you how I vac-seal all this stuff for the freezer. I like vac-sealing because it keeps everything fresher for longer, and it also enables you to just throw this thing straight in the microwave if you want to heat it up. Just cut a little slit into it instead of a baggie or something like that. You could also sous vide in these, and it just keeps everything fresher for longer, and for me, it's the way to do it. Anyways, I like using these bigger bags here and making 2 bags out of them for such small portions. I'm going to go ahead and put a seal on the bottom of this. Go ahead and let that seal. And basically, I'm going to cut it about yay long, and then I'm going to put it back in sideways and make 2 bags out of the one large bag. It fits these smaller portions better, and you can get pre-made ones, but it's cheaper to do it this way with just a little bit of extra effort. I'm going to wait for that to light up. Alrighty. Now I'm just going to eyeball it here. Again, there's nothing fancy, but I know that I need a little bit of space to come back in here to seal it. So, and I also don't want it to be taller than this thing is wide. So I'm going to say right about there. Go ahead and give her a cut. Like I said, I'm going to go right back in here. And that seal strip is right here. So I'm going to line it up just about in the middle. And we're going to make 2 seals. So we have a little section to cut. So we're going to do 1 seal here. Give that a second. While that's sealing, I'm just going to do these in 1 cup portions. I could go a little bit less because I don't know if I'd use a full cup of chicken in some ramen or something like that. But if I go too small, then it's going to be more work than it's really worth. So I'm just going to do it in 1 cup portions. Alright, that's done. Now I'm just going to eyeball it up just a little bit more. Just give myself a little bit of room, 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 inch between the seals. And that's where I'll cut them to make 2 separate bags. So hit that again. I just like using my razor here, but you could use a kitchen knife with a sharp tip, whatever you want to use. I usually do it with the cutting board here, but I kind of forgot to set that back out. I'm cleaning it right now. But we'll go ahead and cut these down the middle. You can see there's 2 seals there, about 1/4 inch apart. And I'm going to be real careful because I don't want to cut my table. But essentially, I'm just going to run my blade down the middle of here between each seal, and that basically makes 2 bags out of the 1 big bag. I also give myself room on the bottom, about 1 inch, so I can write everything I want. But now you can see we've got 2 bags. I can perfectly fit a cup of chicken in here, no problem. So I'm going to do that to, I don't know, maybe 8 bags or so while I'm checking on that stock. And I'll come back to you, we'll load it up and seal everything up. So from here, we pretty much just load up the bags that we made. Like I said, I'm doing about a cup's worth for each one. Give or take a little bit, doesn't matter too much. Just gonna dump her right on in there. I may have overshot these bags a little bit, but that's fine. Like I said, relatively small portions, single-use portions. You know, if I had more chicken, because I've got 5 turkeys on sale after Thanksgiving. I found them for about $5 per turkey, and I'm going to be smoking the whole turkey and doing this exact same thing with each one of them, making a whole bunch of turkey stock, and a whole bunch of smoked turkey, and even some smoked turkey lunch meat using the breasts. But I don't have a whole ton of chicken with this round of stuff, so I'm doing it in single portions instead of giant family-sized portions, but you can put it however much you want. Now, this vac sealer doesn't do very good with a small bag just like this, so I like doing them 2 at a time. And I do have a little bit too much at the top there, so I'm just going to come back through about that much, cut the top off. That way I don't have a whole bunch of extra plastic just floating around, taking up space in the freezer and stuff. Not too crazy. Then we're just going to stick them in here. Like I said, 2 at a time. It seals a lot better. Alrighty. Hit the vac seal, let it do its work. I've got everything labeled. It's a little cold out, so it takes it a little longer to seal than it might normally. Yeah, and see, this is the problem. Sometimes them bags are just a little too small. Let me kind of go through here again. And that can happen. No big deal. You can just give it another shot. And if it doesn't work, I'll just hold down on this and just straight up hit the seal button and get it sealed up. If it doesn't do it automatically. There's plenty of vacuum in there right now. But it's alright. I'm just going to hit the seal and let her get her done. I'm just holding it down so no air gets back into those bags. Then that'll be sealed up. No big deal. It just doesn't do it automatically. I think it's more the cold than anything else right now, to be honest with you. And that's that. Now you've got yourself perfectly portioned little smoked chickens. Alright, I'm going to knock the rest of these out while I'm checking those bones and cut back in when I put the vegetables in. As you can see, now there's no more scum on there, and the stock itself is pretty clear. I'm going to go ahead and go in with the vegetables now. I added a little bit of water in there while I'm doing it. We're just going to dump those all right in there. give it a stir, and I'm going to adjust the heat down just enough so that it stays simmering. I'm going to simmer for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. That's about all you need. Kind of break up those onions, get everything mixed around in there. But like I said, all you need is about an hour and a half to 2 hours to really get the flavor and taste out of everything. And that should about do it. It has been 2 hours, and this stock is done. You can tell by the way the meat is falling off the bones. The onions are basically translucent. You can see right through them, right there to the edge of that spoon. The fat is rendered out of the skin and bones nicely to the top, and the stock itself is actually really nice and clear. Next step is taking this out to the shop, letting it cool down for a little bit, and then if you've ever wanted to try to vacuum seal a liquid, boy, have I got a cool tip for you. It's been a couple minutes. By a couple minutes, I mean like 5 minutes, because it's 22 degrees out here. I'm freezing. That means the stock cooled down pretty quickly. All we gotta do now is separate the liquids from the solids using a strainer. By a strainer, I mean, well, a strainer, or a colander, or some cheesecloth, or a tea towel, or a colander, coffee filter. I don't know if you guys realized, but this pot is a lot bigger than it looks. So to move liquid, I'm just going to use a smaller pot, like a ladle. If you do this in smaller portions, you just use a ladle or a spoon, whatever you got, or just tip your pot, whatever. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Who cares? At the end of the day, you just want to make sure that none of the particles get from this into this. Oh, just remember your ABCs. Always be cleaning. Da-da-da-da. Also, if you didn't think that I just ate like half the carrots and onions and picked a little bit of chicken off that bone while I was getting ready to throw it away, you were sorely mistaken. That's some good eats while you're doing this kind of thing. Well, after that awkward and quite frankly terribly timed intermission, we're going to go ahead and get down to the meat and bones of the old tip I just promised. If you want to vac seal a liquid without destroying your vac sealer, just turn it into a solid. I'm going to go with 2 cups of broth per vac seal bag. I feel like that's good portions for whatever we got to do. Just, pour it on in there without making a mess, best you can. I'm not great at that, obviously. Oh, there's a little bit there. We're going to ignore that. Anyway, don't vac seal that. It's going to ruin your thing. Place it upright in a tall pan of some sort, which is easier said than done, to be fair. I got a tall hotel pan, quarter hotel pan, and it just kind of sits in there like that. Well, without gravity. Kind of like that. Yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, set her in there. Do the same for the next 20 bags, or 5 bags, whatever it is. Stick it in the freezer. Turns into a solid. Now you're just vac sealing an ice cube. There's no liquid left to go up into the motor and destroy the thing. That's a pretty cool tip that I found pretty recently. Well, see, there you go. Now there's mess everywhere. Man, I can't do anything in one take, I promise you. Oh, man, here we go. It's a rough one. Well, we're just going to keep on keeping on. Always clean the mess in between the takes, so I look professional and like I look like I know what I'm doing. Morning 3. And now, after these have been sitting in the freezer all night, we've got a nice little solid that we are able to vac seal without destroying our machine. It is as easy as sticking it in the freezer, coming through here, laying them in there. Oh, they kind of stuck together. There we go. Like I said, 2 at a time, but with all the cold, like I said, it is like 25 degrees out here. It hasn't changed. Pop that bad boy down. Now you can just vac seal those like any other solid without any liquid going up in there. Hopefully it'll go by itself this time. As soon as I got off camera the other night, every single one of those vac sealed by themselves. That's kind of how it happens. But I'm glad that they didn't the first time. That way I could just show you an easy workaround. Anyway, let these bad boys go. Got another 5 seconds here. Now you've got vac sealed soup. So you don't have to buy a whole bunch of plastic storage containers. And these things will fit and tuck into pretty much any corner in your freezer without you having to stack up a bunch of those plastic containers. I'm going to go ahead and hit the rest of these, and then we'll see what happens. You know, I don't know why I worded it that way there at the end, but I guess what happens is I get to show you that I've got about 12 portions of the smoked chicken stock, and left over about 7 bags of the 1 cup portions of the smoked chicken. We definitely been eating on it the last couple days while making this video. That's not too bad for $8 in chicken. I think it's important to be able to do these kinds of things for yourself, be able to meal prep to save money, especially in these economic times. Next up, I'm going to be doing some turkeys that I mentioned earlier in the video. I got 7 turkeys for $40 after Thanksgiving on sale. I think it was like 29 cents a pound. Not too bad. I'm going to turn those into some smoked turkey lunch meat. I'm going to turn it into shredded smoked turkey so we can use it for some turkey melts and stuff like that, or in soups or anything else. And I'm also going to be using the carcasses to make a bunch of smoked turkey stock. That's going to be the next video. If you like this type of stuff, I'd appreciate you subscribing and liking the video. I'm at 41 subscribers right now, and I'd really like to get to 50 subscribers so that I can live stream. So while I do some of this stuff, I can talk to you guys and build a reputation from there. Helps pass the time a little bit. Anyways, glad you guys watched. Appreciate your time. Have a good one. Do you like being on TV? Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Can you say goodbye, everybody?
Hi, everybody.
All right, say thank you.
Thank you.
Thumbs up.